Spent 3 years trapped in the beginner phase. 3 full years of losing money, blowing small accounts, restarting from zero, and convincing myself that the next attempt would finally be different. I read the books. I watched the videos. I tested every strategy that claimed to be the solution. And somehow, after all that effort, I was still exactly where I began, broke, frustrated, and stuck. Then something clicked. I realized I wasn't stuck because I lacked knowledge. I was stuck because I kept repeating the one behavior that guarantees failure. The moment I stopped doing that, everything changed. Within 6 months, I went from chaotic break-even results to real consistency. Not because I discovered some secret strategy, but because I finally understood what separates struggling beginners from traders who actually succeed. And it had nothing to do with what most people assume. Most traders never escape the beginner phase, not because they're unintelligent, not because they're lazy, not because the market is unfair. They stay stuck because they're trapped in a pattern they don't even recognize. That pattern is permanent exploration mode. Maybe you've been trading for 6 months, maybe a year, maybe longer. You understand the basics. You know support and resistance. You can read candlestick charts. You're not brand new anymore. You feel like you're improving, but the results don't show it. You're either losing, barely breaking even, or having one good month followed by several bad ones. You feel stuck, and you don't know why. Here's why. Every time you hit a losing streak, you assume the strategy is the problem. So you switch, you find a new method. You study it, you test it for 20 or 30 trades, it works briefly, then it doesn't. So you switch again and again. Over the past year, you've probably tried 10 different strategies. And despite all that effort, you're still at square one. You think you're searching for the right strategy. You're not. You're hitting the reset button over and over. And every reset takes you back to zero. You destroy your own progress and force yourself to relearn the same lessons repeatedly. The truth is simple. You don't need a new strategy. You need commitment to one strategy. But you can't commit because you're convinced something better exists. And maybe it does. There might always be a slightly better setup out there. But it doesn't matter. If your strategy is profitable, you can make money executing it well. There will always be a strategy that performs better in hindsight. That's irrelevant. What matters is your ability to execute one system with discipline. Even if your strategy isn't perfect, committing to it gives you the fastest path to profitability. It doesn't need to be the best strategy in the world. It just needs to work. Imagine this. You try strategy A. After 20 trades, you win 7 and lose 13. You're down. You conclude it doesn't work. You move to strategy B, same story. You test it briefly, take some losses and abandon it. Then strategy C, same result. You think you're gathering data. In reality, you're quitting before meaningful data can even form. 20 trades aren't enough. 50 trades aren't enough. Even 100 trades only begin to show a pattern. But you never reach that point because you quit at trade 20 and start over. You're not failing because strategies don't work. You're failing because you never give any strategy a real chance. Every strategy has losing streaks. Even excellent systems lose 40% to 50% of the time. That doesn't make them broken. It makes them realistic. But when you're new to a setup, you don't understand what normal variance looks like. You hit 5 losses in a row and panic. You assume it's flawed. It's not. You just encountered normal statistical fluctuation. Because you haven't traded it long enough, you don't trust it. So you abandon it right before the breakthrough. Then you repeat the same cycle with something new. Over and over. There are no supernatural answers waiting for you. The solution is much simpler than you expect. But it requires patience. It requires allowing your strategy enough time to prove itself. Judging a system after 20 trades is like judging a business after one bad week. If you believe a strategy fits you, you have to give it time. It may not feel perfect. It may not feel impressive, but if it aligns with your personality and risk tolerance, stick with it. Over time, you can refine it. You can improve it. But only if you stop resetting every time things get uncomfortable. Professional traders don't jump from system to system. They choose one setup and commit to it. They trade it through different market conditions. They endure winning streaks and losing streaks. They rely on data, not emotion. They develop familiarity you can't gain from shallow testing. Mastery doesn't come from variety. It comes from repetition. And repetition only happens when you stop exploring and start committing. There's another layer to this problem. It's not just strategy hopping, it's addiction to learning. You believe the answer is in the next video, the next book, the next course. So you keep consuming information. You watch hours of content daily. You follow dozens of traders online. You join Discord groups. You scroll through endless analysis threads. It feels productive. It feels like growth. But it isn't. In the beginning, learning is necessary. When you first start trading, you genuinely don't know enough. But that phase shouldn't last forever. After a year, if you're still constantly, why consuming without executing deeply, you're avoiding the one thing that builds skill: repetition. Executing the same setup repeatedly isn't exciting. It's not new. It doesn't give you dopamine. Watching a new strategy breakdown does. Learning feels safe. Execution feels risky. So you choose learning. You convince yourself that you're improving, but you're procrastinating. The deeper issue is this: you secretly believe there's a strategy out there that will almost guarantee profitability. That's why a 50 to 60% win rate doesn't excite you. You want 80%. You want near certainty. But that expectation is unrealistic. Fortunes are built on 50 to 60% win rates with proper risk management. Yet you dismiss them because they don't sound impressive. So you keep searching, and because no strategy meets your unrealistic expectations, you keep moving. I made this mistake for 2 years. I had notebooks filled with strategies. I had folders full of trading plans. I knew the terminology. I could explain indicators confidently. I sounded knowledgeable, and I was losing money every month. Knowledge and skill are not the same. The market doesn't pay you for knowing things. It pays you for executing under pressure. Skill comes from repetition. One setup, traded again and again through wins and losses until it becomes instinctive. You can't learn intuition from a video. You earn it through scraw, time, through tracking trades, through reviewing mistakes, through committing when it gets boring or painful. Most traders never fully commit. They keep one foot out the door, ready to switch at the first sign of discomfort. That guarantees stagnation. Think about any skill you've developed in life. You didn't master it by trying 20 different approaches for a week each. You chose one path and went deep. You practiced through frustration. You pushed past plateaus. Trading is no different. But traders treat it differently. They dabble, they sample, they experiment endlessly, and they stay average. Specialists win. Generalists struggle. In trading, depth beats variety. The shift that changed everything for me was simple. I chose one basic breakout setup with momentum confirmation. Nothing fancy, nothing secret. Just a straightforward pattern that has existed for decades. I made a deal with myself. 6 months, one setup, no switching. Even if I lost money, even if it felt boring, even if I saw other traders posting big wins using different methods. 6 months. The first month was painful. I lost money I wanted to quit. Every instinct told me to try something else, but I stayed. The second month, I broke even. The third month, small profit. The fourth month, better. By the sixth month, I was consistently profitable, not because the setup magically improved, but because I did. I learned when conditions favored it. I learned when to skip trades. I refined small criteria. My win rate improved from around 50% to about 60%. That small adjustment, built on deep familiarity, changed everything. The setup wasn't special. The commitment was. That commitment marked a turning point in my trading career. The strategy didn't contain magic. Mastery did. Here's the hard truth. Any reasonable strategy can work if you master it. The real question is whether you're willing to commit long enough to let mastery develop. Most traders aren't. They want results without the boring process of repetition. They want profits without enduring frustration. So they remain stuck in endless exploration. If you want to escape the beginner phase, you have to decide right now. Pick one setup, not 3, not 5. 1. Commit to trading only that setup for the next 6 months. Don't switch. Don't add variations. Don't chase what you see on social media. Just trade your one setup repeatedly. Track every trade. Journal every trade. Review every trade. Don't evaluate performance until you reach at least 100 trades. Don't modify rules until you have meaningful data. Build skill. Develop pattern recognition. Learn the nuances. Become exceptional at one thing. Modern life makes focus difficult. That's exactly why most traders can't commit, and that's exactly why most traders fail. The first few weeks will feel exciting, then boredom will set in. You'll see the same pattern repeatedly. You'll crave novelty, then a losing streak will hit, and you'll want to quit. You'll see others posting wins using different systems. You'll feel fear of missing out. You'll question your decision. This is where most traders break. This is where they return to exploration mode. This is where they stay trapped. Don't. Boredom is a sign of repetition. Repetition builds skill. Losing streaks teach you the limits of your system. FOMO is just emotional noise. Ignore it. By month 3, you'll start recognizing your setup earlier. You'll instinctively know which trades to skip. By month 6, you won't just know more, you'll perform better. Because performance is built on skill, not information. It's from knowledge to execution, from consuming to doing, from theory to practice. Most traders never make that shift because execution is scary. Risking real money is uncomfortable. Committing to one method feels restrictive, so they hide behind more learning. You don't need more information. You already understand trends, support and resistance, stop losses, and position sizing. That's enough. What you lack isn't knowledge, it's repetition. Write down your rules clearly. Define entry criteria, exit criteria, and risk management. Make it simple enough that a beginner could follow it, then execute it for 100 trades without changing anything. This is how you escape the beginner phase, by becoming a specialist, by building competence instead of collecting ideas. When you commit, something changes internally. You stop second guessing. You stop searching for alternatives. You trust your process. Confidence grows from familiarity. The market rewards mastery. It punishes inconsistency. 6 months, one setup, that's it. No video can make you profitable. No course can replace execution. You must stop resetting and start building. The beginner phase isn't about how much you know. It's about whether you're willing to commit. Commitment is a decision, and it's a decision you can make right now. There's something else you need to understand. Consistency is not built on intensity. It's built on identity. The reason you keep switching strategies isn't just because you're impatient. It's because you still see yourself as someone searching, not someone executing. As long as your identity is learner, you will prioritize gathering information over applying it. The moment your identity shifts to disciplined executor, your behavior changes automatically. Right now, you probably measure progress by how much you've learned, how many strategies you can explain. But profitable traders measure progress differently. They measure how consistently they followed their rules. They measure how well they managed risk. They measure emotional control. The market doesn't reward intelligence, it rewards discipline. You might think discipline is something you either have or don't have. That's not true. Discipline is a byproduct of clarity and repetition. When your rules are clear and you've executed them hundreds of times, discipline becomes easier. There's less hesitation, less doubt, less internal conflict. Most hesitation comes from uncertainty, and uncertainty comes from lack of depth. When you've only traded a setup 15 or 20 times, every loss feels personal. Every win feels random. You don't yet trust the edge. So your emotions swing wildly. But after 200 trades, something changes. Losses don't surprise you. Wins don't excite you too much. You understand the probabilities. You've seen this movie before. Emotional stability increases because familiarity increases. That stability is where real growth happens. Another mistake beginners make is constantly adjusting risk based on emotion. After a few losses, they reduce position size dramatically. After a few wins, they increase it aggressively. This inconsistency destroys performance. When you commit to one strategy long term, you also commit to consistent risk management, fixed risk per trade, predefined stop loss, clear targets. Risk management is boring, but boring is profitable. You don't need to double your account in a month. You need steady execution over hundreds of trades. Compounding works quietly. It doesn't look impressive in the beginning, but over time it becomes powerful. Patience is the real edge most traders lack. Everyone wants acceleration. Very few are willing to endure the slow build. Understand this clearly. The market is not testing your strategy. It is testing your character. It tests whether you can remain consistent when bored. It tests whether you can follow rules after 3 losses in a row. It tests whether you can ignore social media noise when someone else posts a big win. Every time you switch strategies, you fail that test. Long-term profitability comes from reducing variables. One setup, one risk model, one journaling process. Fewer moving parts mean clearer feedback. Clearer feedback means faster improvement. When you trade 5 different setups, how do you know which one is actually working? When you change rules every 2 weeks, how do you measure progress? You can't improve what you don't measure clearly. Simplicity creates progress. You might worry about missing opportunities by focusing on one setup. But missing trades is not the same as missing growth. Growth comes from depth, not coverage. A sniper who masters one angle is more effective than someone randomly shooting in every direction. Trading rewards precision, not activity. Another powerful shift happens when you stop obsessing over outcomes and start obsessing over process. Beginners focus on whether a trade won or lost. Professionals focus on whether the trade followed the plan. If you followed your rules perfectly and lost, that's a successful trade. If you broke your rules and won, that's a dangerous trade. Your job is not to control results. Your job is to control behavior. When you internalize this, pressure decreases. You stop needing every trade to validate you. You stop tying your self-worth to daily P&L. You begin to think in series of 50 or 100 trades instead of individual outcomes. That shift alone can transform your performance. There will always be noise, new indicators, new systems, new trends on social media. None of that matters if you already have a tested, profitable setup. Depth beats novelty. You don't build confidence by switching. You build confidence by surviving discomfort without changing direction. At some point, you must draw a line and say, "This is my system. I will master it." Not because it's perfect, but because mastery requires stability. The beginner phase ends when exploration ends. And the moment you fully commit, you'll notice something surprising. The market starts to feel slower, clearer, less chaotic. Not because it changed, but because you did. Repetition builds recognition. Recognition builds confidence. Confidence builds consistency. That's the progression. You don't need another breakthrough strategy. You need fewer decisions, fewer changes, fewer resets. One setup, one commitment. Long enough to become undeniable. If you can do that, profitability stops being a mystery. It becomes a byproduct of who you've become. There's one final truth most traders avoid because it forces responsibility. If you are still stuck, it's not because the market is too hard. It's not because you haven't found the perfect strategy. It's because you haven't stayed in one place long enough to grow roots. Growth requires staying. When you constantly change direction, you never experience the compounding effect of experience. Every time you reset, you restart the emotional learning curve. You restart the statistical learning curve. You restart the confidence building process. And that keeps you in a permanent beginner mindset. You don't become advanced by learning advanced concepts. You become advanced by executing basic concepts flawlessly. Support and resistance, breakouts, pullbacks, risk management, position sizing. These are not secret tools, they are simple. But simple does not mean easy. Simple requires repetition, and repetition requires commitment. There's a moment in every trader's journey where excitement fades. The charts look thuck. Same. The setup feels repetitive. You start questioning whether this is really it. That moment is critical. Because on the other side of boredom is mastery. Most people never reach mastery because they escape boredom too quickly. Boredom is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that you're stabilizing. It means you're no longer overstimulated by new information. It means you're narrowing your focus. And narrowing focus is uncomfortable in a world addicted to variety. The traders who win are not the ones who know the most. They are the ones who tolerate repetition the longest. You must also understand that consistency in trading changes you as a person. When you follow the same rules daily, you strengthen patience. You strengthen emotional control. You strengthen delayed gratification. These traits spill into other areas of your life. Discipline in trading builds discipline everywhere. Another mistake beginners make is expecting confidence before action. They say, "Once I feel confident in this setup, I'll commit." It doesn't work that way. Confidence comes after commitment, not before it. At first, you will doubt your rules. You will doubt your edge. That's normal. But if you have back-tested and validated your setup, Doubt is just emotion, not logic. Your job is to follow the plan anyway. Emotional discomfort is temporary. Skill is permanent. There will be weeks nothing seems to work. Weeks where you question your decision. Weeks where you look at your results and feel frustration building. Those weeks are part of the process. They are not signs to abandon ship. They are opportunities to refine execution without changing direction. If you zoom out far enough, you'll realize trading is a long game, not 6 days, not 6 weeks, years. The traders who succeed are the ones who think in years. They don't panic over one bad month. They don't celebrate excessively over one good month either. They stay neutral, focused, process-driven. Neutrality is power. Once you commit to one setup, you remove a huge mental burden. You no longer waste energy evaluating new systems. You no longer compare yourself constantly. Your mind becomes quieter, and that quiet allows sharper decision-making. Clarity creates confidence. There's also freedom in limitation. When you reduce your choices, you reduce overthinking. Too many options create hesitation. One clear option creates action. This is why elite performers in any field simplify their approach. They narrow their tools. They refine their strengths. They double down instead of spreading out. You should do the same. Make your rules mechanical. Define exactly what qualifies as an entry. Define exactly where the stop goes. Define exactly how much you risk. Remove ambiguity. Ambiguity feeds emotion. Preciso. N feeds consistency. And once the rules are set, your only task is execution. Execution is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It doesn't look impressive online. But it builds results quietly. You might not see dramatic changes in the first month. That's fine. The first month is about adjustment. The second month is about stabilization. The third month is about recognition. By the sixth month, you'll look back and barely recognize your old behavior. You'll notice you're calmer, more patient, less reactive. You won't feel the urge to jump to every new idea. You'll start trusting your data instead of your emotions. That's when you know you've left the beginner phase behind. The beginner phase ends the day you stop chasing and start committing. It ends the day you decide that depth is more valuable than novelty. It ends the day you accept that mastery takes time. No one can force that decision on you. No video, no mentor, no book can make it for you. It's internal. But once you make it, everything changes. The market stops feeling like chaos. It starts feeling like a system you understand. Not perfectly, but deeply enough to operate within it confidently. And that confidence doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from doing more of the same thing, the right way, for long enough. Stay with one plan. Stay long enough to see who you become on the other side of MIT commitment. That's where real traders are made.